What's up, chat? Welcome back to the stream. It's Monday. We are indulging in a little bit of mayhem today. And oh boy, was I excited for this weekend's results. I was like, this is crazy. There's so many GTs. There's like 100 GTs. Fully 800 people. I guess 700 people participated in the two largest events of the weekend alone. This is crazy. How could it go wrong? What could possibly have happened here? I was like, we're going to get new results from Chaos Space Marines. We're going to get maybe some answers to our Catan overlords and perhaps an ousting of Ultramarines as the only Space Marines you're allowed to play. We got, that's what we got. It was just more of the same, to be perfectly honest with you. I was trolling through our X and ones from these events, and so many of them are just normal stuff. Now there is, I will mention, a breadth of results, which is inspiring. Look at all of these different factions. Eldar, Orks, Necrons, Tyranids, more Necrons, more Space Marines, more Space Marines. It's fairly well represented at the top tables. However, 98% of these lists are just identical. It seems like in most cases, the internal balance of every faction is largely fucked. And that sucks. On a level, that's not very interesting. So basically, most of these factions, like, you could essentially guess right off the top of your head what 90% of them are playing, just like the faction name, and that is most of the case gonna be the same. So I think in my results over the course of the weekend, we had just massive numbers of people going undefeated with Necrons, with Ultramarines, a couple of people with Tau, some other factions. Most of those lists, at the very least, came from the same detachments, if not were just identical lists from each other. It's boring. It's boring and sad. Now, I've done my due diligence to go through and find some interesting lists to talk about, and some stuff that I have not yet talked about up until this point. However, I think it's worth pointing out that this is just, this is the Seta stuff. We're playing Blade of Ultramar, we're playing like Awakened Dynasty Necrons or Star Shadow Arsenal, and that's what's going on. That's just what's happening. So there it is. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't think that the game is in a particularly strong place right now. I do think the faction representation, as I said before, is nice to see. However, at the top end of the competitive metagame, it is boiled down to a very few archetypes that are very viable. Yeah, I think that's just how it is. It's an interesting state to be in, because I think that we ended up with sort of a predetermined metagame this season, because we all knew Ultramarines were gonna be stupid going into it, right? We were like, man, these Victrix Honor Guards sure are something. And they did get nerfed, in fairness, which was great. However, then immediately we got Wardens of Ultramar. Okay, cool. And then Blade of Ultramar. All right, guys, you can calm down now. It's okay. We can stop with Ultramarine stuff. And then immediately, boom, like a meteorite sent from the skies above, we got the Catan update, and Necrons were everywhere as well. So it feels, I think, like we have been sitting in this metagame for longer than we actually have, right? The Catan charts have only been this way for, going on 2 months, I guess. Just about. Ultramarines a little bit longer than that. However, given the fact that we basically knew what things were going to look like going into it, and we're still experiencing the same stuff, it does feel, I think, a little bit worse than otherwise it would. So, I don't know. I think that just compounds the fact that a lot of other things in the game are sort of getting amalgamated, emulsified into single builds, like mono list archetypes and stuff like that in a lot of other factions, just because people are fighting these just powerhouse factions, and they have to be able to build around that, and so you have to be playing certain things. I don't know. I am coming, I think, from a little bit of a place of petulism, I guess. I like it when you know, factions and other like weird sub factions and stuff are a little bit more interesting and dynamic. And I think it's a little bit of a symptom of 10th edition that we're kind of at this point where like 80% of armies are the same as each other. So it's just awkward and weird. However, we're not going to talk so much about that right now. We're going to talk about any of the people who are playing other and interesting things, because that's what's fun and cool about 40K is you can play a lot of different stuff, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. There's also a couple of events that I didn't cover on my video this morning. If you watched that, it was a full fucking hour long. Oh my god, it was crazy. However, we did have events like such as the Frontal Assault from Northern Ireland, which ended in a 4-way draw at the top. Again, as I say many times, why are we doing WTC, a differential scoring in single events? This is what happens. You get 4-way draws at the top table, and then it goes to tiebreakers. Fucking wild. I think that I think Necrons were 5-0, but I didn't go through all the events. But we'll talk about some of these lists as well. So there's a little bit of stuff to talk about. And there are some new releases from Warhammer Community. So that is what we're going to be hopping on first, I think. Games Workshop's tanking the meta to sell models for a new edition. Yeah, it definitely feels like, I mean, there are some pushed fucking data sheets, dude. It's the like Victrix Honor Guard on release. I don't know. There was a thing, and I was going to do a video on this like ages ago, and I tried to follow up on it, but there was like basically this, I guess like a leaked memo or something that I was told about from more than one person that I have never seen in my life. And obviously I'm not going to do a video on it if I'm not looking at it. If I don't have evidence to talk about it, I'm not going to talk about it. But somebody was telling me that there was a leaked memo from back in 7th edition when the Wraith Knight came out, that the stats for the Wraith Knight were determined by the marketing group, not the development or design group in Games Workshop, in order to push their new kit. And man, does it feel that way for some of this new stuff. You know, these like new Nightbringer data sheets, these Victrix Honor Guide. It's like, come on, man, really? It's another unit, but strictly better. Okay. I don't know. That is tinfoil hat theorying. But it definitely does feel that way sometimes. Anyway, speaking of new things coming out that are going to be strictly better than old things, or maybe they won't, let's talk about some new stuff. First of all, we have the new Imperial Knight Destrier, which honestly, I kind of love these guys. I like that they're little medium knights. They're like just little versions of big knights, but I think the detailing on them is very cool. I like this little like rocket spear he's got. That's kind of sweet. Like actually has a rocket engine on the back. Adorable. He's got a funny helmet. I love the funny helmets that knights have. We have the return of the frag cannon. At long last, a new frag cannon just dropped. Babe, wake up. New frag cannon. I'm interested in these. I do think it is a dangerous territory to dive into building medium knights, right? And honestly, it's not like the knights are a little bit of a gradient. It's less of a medium thing, because you do have like, you know, you have the Armiger class knights, and then you have the Titanic knights, right? The Custodes class, and then Cerasis is like Custodes +1, and then like, you know, whatever, a Castus is like you know, Custodes X2 essentially. So like, but in realistically, when we're talking about super heavy knights versus Arbigers, there is these guys are meant, I guess, to fall into the middle point there, that sort of mid-weight category. That's a very dangerous place to be in, because it typically gets shit on. I would say 90% of the time, when you create a unit archetype that looks like this, that is directly in between little boy and big boy, either it invalidates big boy, right? Because we have a thing that's bigger than little boy. And in many cases, it looks like they might have similar weapons as well, which like it seems a little crazy. Like this is not an Avenger Gatling Cannon, I guess. Which means that you don't take Big Boy anymore because Big Boy becomes inefficient, or Big Boy, because it has bigger weapons and bigger defensive stats, mogs this thing to the point where you don't play him anymore, right? So medium, basically carbon copy mid-weight units do tend to fall down in a lot of cases. This isn't the only time we've seen this, right? We've seen this with like a ton of stuff, you know, Space Marine tank varieties, right? You see the heavy tanks like Land Raiders and Repulsors. You see the lighter stuff like Land Speeders, and then in the middle there's like a Gladiator. Many times you either take the small cheap stuff or you take the big heavy stuff, and the middle stuff never gets played, right? And I think that there's certainly a danger for that, especially since, and this sort of blows my mind, these are just little Custodes, right? It's not like we're doing anything particularly unique with these things. It is just a Custodes class knight, but he's a little smaller. You know, he even has similar looking weapons. So you need them to do something very unique, and they're not really doing that. For example, if this was a slower but more efficient ranged platform, right, where it's like double gun, then you compare it to the Custodes chassis, who's big, fast, tanky, goes through walls, and has gun plus sword, so it can perform multiple roles. Now suddenly we are looking at two different things. But this is just little Custodes, which I don't know. It's going to be entirely based on, I imagine, like the efficiency of their points value plus their datasheet abilities, because I think there's a lot of cases where simply you either will never take Custodes because these are good enough, or you will never take these because Custodes are too good. I don't know. It's a strange thing. It's a weird place to push your design for this faction, because like you could go smaller, right? It would be interesting to see what is the knight equivalent of an infantry unit. We didn't do that though. We just built more big things. So I don't know. It is what it is. We'll talk about what they do, I guess. If they haven't any discussed about it. The Destrier is a pattern of Bellatus Imperial Knights, prized for its incredible speed and grace. It looks so graceful. It does have the cool legs, the reverse jointed legs. Those are cool. It has rocket boosters. Are those these things? Is that what this is? Is that the rocket booster? Plus, I think this is a rocket, right? That's a jet engine on the back of its lens, which I think that's fun. That's incredibly silly. That's very 40k. Of course, we've put a rocket booster in the back of the lens. That's right out of Pacific Rim, where he like goes to punch the kaiju and the rocket booster in the back of his arm lights up. But we love that silly stuff. They use Thundershock spears and Bellatus Reaper chainswords. Enormous rocket-assisted power lances capable of punching through the heaviest armor. Hopefully it's devastating. It'd be cool. Anti-vehicle 4-up devastating, like 8 damage or something. Let's go. Well, the latter are versatile blades that can sweep through entire squads or grind through single tougher targets. The few surviving stragglers can hardly be considered lucky either. They've only lasted long enough to get locked in the sights of a Chastiser Gatling Cannon. It is slightly different. Okay, it is not an Avenger. It's a Chastiser. I like the idea that the Avenger's like, you may take to the field in opposition of the God Emperor of Mankind, but you will be avenged upon. And the Chastiser's like, no, don't do that. How dare you? You shouldn't be trying to overthrow the Imperium of Man. It's a good name for a Gatling Cannon, I guess. For a little Gatling Cannon. A cute little Gatling Cannon. Gatling Cannon profiles are really weird right now, too, because they're typically only AP1, so they get super shit on by cover. And you really... Or I guess they're AP2, right? It's 6-2 for the big ones, but like a little Gatling Cannon tends to be AP1. What's the Doom Lord? Or the Doom Hammer? Is that what I'm thinking of? The Vulcan Mega Bolter guy. No, that's the... Is it Stormlord? Am I stupid? It is Stormlord. Those are AP1. Get fucked. Okay. So that is absolutely destroyed by cover. Get wrecked. This is a very beginning of the edition, don't make it too strong kind of profile. Brother, this super heavy costs 430 points. You can make its gun do something. Why is half the game save on 3s? It averages 4 damage. 4 damage, bro. Pretty crazy. But the Avenger Gatling Cannon is AP2. I'm not right. I'm not an insane person who has an Avenger Gatling Cannon. I guess the spoiler does. Gatling Cannon. Yeah, 622. So hopefully it's AP2 at least. Then it would be cool. Maybe AP2 1 damage, it shoots a million times and has sustains or something. That'd be cool. Just like infantry sweeper. But like Bulger, I don't know. Mega Bulger profiles have always been kind of weird. This whole edition, because the AP characteristic inflation has been a little extreme. We also can have Bellatus Reaper chainswords. No, we talked about those. Okay, so that's all. That's all we get for these guys. Well, I'm interested to see what they do with them. They will have to make them do something very unique, I think, in order to differentiate them from Custodes chassis. Hopefully they do that, and it's not just dead on arrival because it's just not a super heavy. I don't know, chat. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But that's not the only reveal we got. We got the full data sheet for the new Twin Lance. Here we go. Relantar and Relokai, which on the data sheet looks like Relocal, which I think would be a very funny name for a hero of the Tau Empire. there's Returist and Relocal over here. We have the full data sheet for them. If we open this in a new tab, does it look better? Can we zoom it in a little bit? We can. So it's 2 characters that sit together. We actually were wondering if these guys would hang out by each other, but hang out like independently. But I guess it's just a unit of 2 guys, which are pretty cool. They are vehicle keyworded. They do have all of the same keywords as the Crisis Battlesuit stuff. So they're essentially like super Crisis Battlesuits, effectively. Their profile's a little bit heftier than most of the other Crisis characters. They're T6, 2+, 4+ with 8 wounds. OC2 as well, which is nice to move 10-inch movement with fly. The other thing too is that they scout 8 inches, which I don't know if that's helpful, like super helpful, but I think it does allow them to instigate the fight very early. And what they do want to do is get within 9 inches of you, because a lot of their abilities proc at 9 inches. These guys are going to be absolutely insane in Retaliation Cadre, by the way, once they get that +1 strength, +1 AP getting close to you. Oh boy, it's going to be pretty spooky. So, yeah, they want to get up close to you, which is exemplified by their Exemplar of the Monka ability. Gives them sustained hits 1 and ignore cover when they target the closest eligible target. So they don't necessarily need guidance because they already have ignore cover and they hit on 2s regardless. You can spot them with a stealth battlesuit to hit on 2s and reroll 1s and then get their sustained hits. And potentially, if you are playing the Monka detachment itself, also lethal hits more often, which is going to be pretty spooky. But as I said before, they do take strength characteristic enhancements really well too. So I think like Ret Cadre is going to be pretty cool for them. They also, starting your opponent's charge phase, make something take a battle shock check and get -1 to charge. Importantly, it's simply a unit within 12. It doesn't require visibility. It's non-monster, non-vehicle, but it also doesn't require that unit to be actively charging the Twin Lance. So this unit can protect you from things like, I don't know, like deep strike charges or, close deep strikes, stuff like that, simply by standing near your other units. It doesn't even have to be in the middle, but the Neocapacitor Shield will still proc and mess with them. The Battle Shock check is also very relevant because in many cases you can Battle Shock enemies before they take your objectives. They can also prevent them from using stratagems like Command Reroll to more consistently get into melee. So that ability, actually, incredibly strong. Downside, obviously, is the excluding monster and vehicle tag, which is good, I guess. They make a normal or fallback move of up to 6, or I guess it's normal move of 6 inches or a full fallback move of 10. So they basically get interlocking maneuvers permanently for the entire game. That means they can always shoot and scoot. They just must do so at the fight phase instead of the shooting phase, which is totally fine. So they can continuously deal this damage while potentially escaping from line of sight. Now, the normal move of 6 inches is going to be a little tough because I think the unit is relatively physically large. I don't know how big their bases are, but I imagine that they're probably 90 mils. They do look very wide. So getting them behind cover might be difficult with just a 6-inch move, but if you're only peeking a little bit of them, maybe they'll be able to do it. Or they can hop into a building and shoot and then hop out of the building. It's really helpful. Plus, they can charge and then fall back move 10 inches, so you can put 4 OC almost anywhere on the table. It's wildly useful ability. And then that's all in service of their weapon profiles, which are really cool. The important thing to keep in mind is that they are vehicle keyworded. So, they have pistol profiles, and they can shoot them in addition to their other weapons. So they get all of these every time they shoot. You don't have to choose which of the profiles you're going to use. You get all the guns. So one of them has the Fusion Eliminator, which is a D6 Melta 2 weapon. It's, it's fine. It's like a strength 10 Fusion Blaster, which is okay. They want to be within 9 inches, though, because the other one has the Ion Scatter Gun, which is range 18, but rapid fire 2. So it goes from 4 to 6 shots within 9 inches. And at strength 8 AP 3 damage. So it's basically a whole Ghost Keel, as long as you get within 6, with Ignore Cover baked in, plus sustained hits. And I think it's AP's higher, right? I think that the Ghost Keel is range 36, but AP 2, if I remember correctly, when it overcharges. That is indeed the case. Look at that. Get shit on, Ion Raker. Go rake somewhere else. We don't have any fallen leaves here. We're AP 3. Although obviously we have to be right next to the target in order to shoot the gun. They also have a the Shardstorm Burst system, which is a pistol for some reason. I guess obviously you can shoot them in combat and not get the penalty, which is pretty funny. I don't know why that one's the pistol. Kind of feels like maybe the pistol was supposed to be pistol, and then the Shardstorm was meant to be blast. That feels like a typo. I don't know, but it is what it is. It's a straight 5 AP 0, 1 damage, D6 shotgun. Who cares? That one doesn't matter so much. We do get twin pulse blasters from their drones. Their drones actually have the instead of twin linked carbines, it's the blasters from the breacher team, so they do a little bit more damage. They're strength 6 AP 1 damage, but they only hit on 5's baseline. And then they each have, this is kind of cool, rapid fire 2 pulse pistols, which are importantly not pistol keyworded. Pretty weird, but okay. So when they get within 6 inches, then they get another 4 strength 6 AP 1 2 damage shots. Again, ignore cover, potentially with additional benefits on top of that. So once they get really up close and personal, we're firing 2 strength 10 AP 4 D6 plus 2 fusion shots, 6 strength 8 AP strength 8 AP 3 damage ion shots, plus 8 strength 6 AP 1 2 damage shots, plus all their drone attacks, plus all of their Shardstorm attacks. Those all get sustained hits, ignore cover when they're next to you. It's a lot of deca from these 2 little guys. And then the coolest thing about them is that they also get those profiles in melee. So whatever, they each get their pulse pistol attack in melee at 3+ weapon skill, and then one of them gets to shoot 3 shots with his scatter gun, not overcharged. Essentially, 7/2/2 is the melee profile. Extra attack, so you can attack it on top, and then the other one shoots with the fusion eliminator. I actually love this, and what I think is that this is how battle shoots should work. I think I've said this a million times, but I think it would be more interesting if Tau did have melee presence, but their melee presence was based on the ranged weapons they were carrying. I think that's really cool. So they're not good in melee, right? 6, 1, 2, 4 attacks each, so 6 attacks total. Like, it's fine. Plus the one big gun shot is like, okay, the big guns only hit on 4s. There's no buffs for them. It doesn't get affected by their exemplars ability. You can't guide for it, so you're just rolling 4-ups. But it is cool as hell, and I like it a lot. It gives you the idea that this unit is meant to run up to you, shoot you, charge you. Like, they basically get, 2 pseudo shooting phases into you, then fall back, move really far, and pulse your charge down, so re-engaging them is difficult. I think the play pattern's really interesting. I think it's really cool, and I think this unit's going to be really strong, especially based on points value. If they're super expensive, maybe not so much, because it's probably a unit that's going to, your opponent's going to prioritize pretty quickly, and they're going to, once they lose a bottle, like, they're not, you know, they lose quite a bit of output. You're losing one of the unique heavy weapons, especially, but just the mobility itself is really sick, which I think is gonna be amazing. Tau Gunfu kind of sick, yeah. It also, I think, appropriately differentiates battle suits. Were this to be a mechanic, right, where Tau just had melee profiles for their guns, it would be interesting if it was a mechanic that was unique to battle suits, because right now, nothing is mechanically differentiating a Riptide from, like, a Skyray, right? The only difference is that the Riptide gets the battlesuit keyword and, like, generally has more things going on, right? It has more guns and invuln saves and stuff like that, whereas a Skyray is just a tank with a gun. Which is, like, opens the question, you know, like, why are we building Skyrays? If we can build Riptides and they do 20 things, and they're a big walker, why are we even bothering with the more conventional tanks? If the goal was that battlesuits could charge and then shoot their guns engaged in melee, that would be cool and interesting. Suddenly you could have this front line of Tau battlesuits that are able to use their weapons as melee profiles, and can actually clear people off objectives aggressively. I think that'd be sick. That is a piece of game design that we can use for 11th edition. You can take that to the bank, whoever's writing the 11th edition Tau Codex. Make battlesuits interesting again. But in any case, I think that this unit is very interesting. I think they're going to be really good. And if I was a Tau player, I'd be pretty psyched. I'd also be psyched about the fact that your faction's really good right now. But I guess it's not Ultramarines, but it is very strong. And you also get to use these guys in the future. So I think that's cool. I think that's pretty cool. Battlesuits taking directions from Cypher. Yeah. I do like the direction where melee, like, ranged attacks have melee implications is, like, a direction. It's one of my favorite ones. I think it's really cool. You know, Cypher having his pistol profiles as melee attacks. It's great. These guys do the same thing. I think that's pretty sweet. So pretty cool. Could be something they're trying for the future. I would hope so. In what world would you shoot the Shardstorm burst system over other guns? I don't understand what the question is. Anyway, chat, that's all the new stuff. I think we should be excited about it. I don't know. We'll see how we feel about the Destriers, but I think the Twin Lands is certainly more interesting of the two. All right. Well, let's hop into some events that I have not yet discussed. We'll start by talking about the Frontal Assault event. Now, a lot of this stuff is going to be pretty normal things. So this event did end up having 4 undefeated at the end with X01 results. If we look through the pairings, Black Templars actually won. Oh no, this was a true draw in the end, in the final round. It was an actual natural draw. It must have been a great game. But I believe that Necrons did lose in semis, but it was a WTC draw, which puts Tau in as the actual undefeated, you know, the only true undefeated player in the event. Although obviously that's not how it was. That's not how it was drawn up here. But Tau is playing Retaliation Cadre, which is kind of cool. Running Commander Farsight, a Cold Star Commander Battlesuit with Prototype Weapon System, plus an Enforcer Battlesuit with Starflare Ignition. So he can uppy downy. Another Enforcer Battlesuit, plus double Fire Knife Battlesuits. 1 Plasma Rifle Squad, which is interesting. We're seeing more and more of those guys get played as anti-heavy infantry technology. Plus the Missile Drones, which I think typically go with the Enforcer. Yeah. 3 missile pods and a Cyclic. Because the benefit is that you can up down those guys early and just drop them around the edges of the table. Obviously, they have Deep Strike, so they could just Deep Strike normal. But they can hop around the edge of the table to cut lines of sight to like utility units. So your opponent runs up with the unit to go get area denial, for example. You can ignition system these guys, pop them somewhere else, and then cut a shot onto one Space Marine Scout or something, and you just rip the Space Marine Scout off from 30 inches away. You don't have to worry about it, and you don't have to commit anything. And then if you're in danger, you could use Torch Star Gambit to run away. We have a Star Scythe Battlesuit team just for infantry sweeping, plus a pair of Sunforge Battlesuits with Fusion Blasters that's going to attach with Commander Farsight, as well as the Cold Star Commander with the prototype weapon system he's running. Oh, no, actually, I think, we have a... Nope, we just have Farsight as the attachment. I think one of those units is running solo. The Cold Star Commander should drop in with the Star Scythe Battlesuit team, because he has a million attacks and then gets sustained hits from the prototype weapon system. Yeah, so we'll just have a naked Sunforge team that we can trade things into people with. The downside is obviously like the attack volume so low on these guys, there is a very reasonable chance that they do nothing when they shoot, which is always gets a little bit scary because they are just hitting things on 4s or 3s if they're guided, with typically few rerolls. They get reroll 1s if you get a stealth suit to guide for them, but because their ability doesn't give them hit rerolls, things get a little bit spicy for them without a character. Having a character for 2+ weapon skill, fusion shots, and just improving the volume of the unit helps a lot, but in this case, we're just hoping for the best. 1 crew Carnivore Squad, 1 crew Trax Rider for utility, Pathfinder teams times 3, Jesus. These are all recon drone guys, so we have tons of infiltration available, 2 Riptide Battlesuits, 2 Stealth Battlesuits for spotting, which seems pretty cool. Good stuff. Now, what's interesting, what I would like to talk about is the follow-up, which was Black Templars, who also went XO-1 with 1 draw on the record. Martin Sloan ran Gladius Task Force, not Bastion. Interesting. High Marshal Helbrecht, a lieutenant, double marshals, plus Emperor's Champion. We have an Assault Intercessor squad. 2 Crusader squads. Looks like 20 mans. Ooh. Ooh. So we have a Helbrecht one. We have no Castellans, but we can Lieutenant and Marshal so that we can get 5-up criticals, lethal hits by ourselves. And then the Crusader squads, I think, naturally sustain, right? Because the Black Templar Chainsword profiles do. They sure do. So we get 5-up critical lethal sustain just off the base lieutenant. Plus an Intercessor squad, Impulsor, Invader ATV, Repulsor Executioners times 2, Sword Brethren. That's... I guess we have a Marshal who can hop in the Sword Brethren squad and then just hang out with them. And I guess we're running the... Oh, we have Assault Intercessors, which is where we're going to be running the Emperor's Champion. So Emperor's Champion with the Sword Brethrens. Helbrecht, I guess probably by himself, although he could run with a Marshal for the rerolls if we want to run a solo Sword Brethren squad. But I imagine we have the Sword Brethren squad with another Marshal for the improved criticals. And then we have 1 LT to go with the second Marshal for one of the Crusader squads. We're just hoping that the extra attacks and strength get through from Helbrecht's unit. Intercessor squad for the backline. 1 Impulsor who can carry around one of the 5-mans, of which there are 2. An Invader ATV, double Executioners, plus a Scout squad, and the Sword Brethren, which is neat. Good stuff. So I didn't cover that event because of all of the X and 1s. Typically, I will only put events on in my notes if they go all undefeated. I think that there was I'm going to double check here. A Mercenary Oath Band that we can talk about. There was a Mercenary Oath Band. Aiden Lee went 4-1 at the same event. So an X-1 result, not undefeated, but still did pretty well with the Mercenary Oath Band. So this is the new one from Warhammer Community that just came out a couple weeks ago, which I'm going to pull up so that I don't forget all the things and what they do. Sorry, chat. One sec. Unfortunately, I have to pull up the original documentation, so I have to load the whole thing. So we have a Brokir Iron Master with the Edisern targeting implant that gives you reroll hit rolls of 1 and sustained hits if you pay 3 yieldy points. He can hop into what I imagine is a big unit of Brokir Thunderkin. There they are. So because of the conversion keyword, we get 5+ critical lethal hits, or 4+ critical lethal hits when they're outside 18 inches. With the Edisern targeting, you also turn that into sustained. So they're lethal sustained at a pretty high strength. So I think they're strength 7, AP 2, 3 damage, if I remember correctly. And then if we wombo them with the second unit, we can get ignore cover. Oh, this is the Iron Master. Where's the Thunderkin? Gimme. Yeah, so it's 12 shots to begin with. At 7, 2, 3 reroll 1s and 4+ criticals means you get probably, on average, you get like 7 critical hits. So you get 7 additional hits, 7 auto wounds, and then the Iron Master gives you reroll 1s to wound, right? Yeah. So even if you're winning on 5s, right, you're probably you're probably like rolling somewhere around 10. Assuming that you are benefiting from the +1 from the army ability, you're probably rolling somewhere around 10 wound rolls. So reroll 1s gets you 1 to 2 additional wounds. So you're probably handing your opponent like 13 saves on average, with potentially AP to ignore cover, with all the bonuses as well. I guess you can also source full hit rerolls in this detachment, because we are running Mercenary Oath Band. So if we use I'm going to double check that's correct. Yeah, if we use Privateer Arsenal, we get reroll wound rolls of 1, which you already have, but it doesn't matter. But you also get full hit rerolls, so you can try to source those more easily. So without even using the reroll 1s to hit, we can convert about 75% of our attacks into lethal sustains. So you should get about 8 or so. Maybe 9. I guess 9, right? Because you're 6, and then you reroll the other 6, not 4-ups, and try to get hits with them. So that's 9 auto hits, 9 sustains. And then you get reroll 1s to wound 2 different ways, which is exciting. What a time. So that's pretty neat. I don't know. It's a lot of damage coming out of that little unit. We have 1 Memnir Strategist. We have a Uthar the Destined to use the stratagems for free. 2 Cathodia Berserks, 1 more Thunderkin unit with bolt cannons. That's for extra range, by the way, so that we can keep them a little bit farther back than normal. They don't really do anything. Is that right? They're different. They're different ranges, right? Yeah, the bolt cannon fires 36 and the other ones fire 12. So you want to be outside 12 with the conversion beamers, with the bolt cannons can stay super duper far back to strip cover from people. Because the downside is that Brokir Thunderkin are sitting at this like 3+ save 2 wound profile. The number of times the unit randomly dies to things is crazy. Your opponent will be like, oh, I have a gun over here, I'll shoot it, and then the Brokir Thunderkin unit entirely dies, because you just need 6 conversions to go through. They roll bad against like 1 autocannon attack, and the entire unit's dead. It's crazy. They die so quickly. So the bolt cannons being able to fire at a longer distance is cool. They don't really do that much. You can give them like maybe reroll hits so that they can get more sustained hits too, but it's AP 1. It's probably not ignoring cover, because you have to shoot with the other unit to do that. So it's like probably bouncing off most stuff, but the range 36 is why you're taking that. 2 Hecaton Land Fortresses, 2 Hurricane Pioneer units, a Jaeger squad, plus double melee Ironkin Steeljacks. I think that's for optimal expenditure, which gives you full wound rerolls in melee and hit rerolls of 1, which is kind of sweet. So you're attacking with the melee Ironkin Steeljacks 6 times per model, if I remember correctly, is the profile. So you're attacking 36 times. You have sustained hits 1, so you get reroll once to hit to try to trigger those. So you should be converting pretty close to all of your attacks. It's like 35 or 34 average hits, and then wounding most targets on 5s, especially things like Catan Shards, right? Wounding on 5s full rerolls means that you should convert about 50% of those. So you're probably looking at like, I don't know, 17 wounds or so. Against the Catan Shard, you hand them about 6 saves through the invuln. So if you've already ripped into them with a bunch of lethal hits from the Brokir Thunderkin, there's a non-zero chance they go down to the Ironkin Steeljack charge. I imagine that that's a little bit of the arithmetic there. That unit against T11 explicitly, that unit like goes absolutely ham against a lot of that stuff. It's the same profile in that case as like the melee Tyranid Warriors, with the 36 attacks, sustained hits with full wound rerolls if you spend the money for it. They also have 2-shot gun, which is kind of neat. Not super helpful, but I don't know, it's there. I guess you could also get them to naturally hitting on 2s if you're on an objective, right? Because they should most of the time be able to switch into whichever of their modes for their army ability is more helpful. So a lot of times, if you are towed onto an objective, they could just switch into the +1 to hit against enemies holding objectives, and so then they can hit on 2s and reroll 1s with sustained 1, which means that they average like 40 hits, 45 or 42 or so, 43 maybe, and then suddenly they're plowing you for like 7 or 8 damage if the stars align, although in many cases you're just going to pull off the objectives. In that case, maybe they can get it into a situation where they can fight you from on the objective. It's a little bit tougher though, and sometimes. But they're also infantry, so they get the -1 to wound if you get an early use of Fortify Takeover. Plus we have Capricus Carrier, double Sagittars to carry around the Chthonian Berserks with concussion mauls. This is a cool list. I don't know. That's fun to talk about, chats. Mercenary Oathband seems pretty cool. It seems incredibly well-rounded. I guess like it doesn't speed itself up a ton. Outside of giving itself re-embarkation and uppy downies. But if it gets to you, the damage it's going to do is crazy because it simply has stratagems for every situation, right? It's such a toolbox worth of strats. And also being able to use your army ability proactively is huge. So your opponent can't play around it as easily. So you can actually, in some cases, generate that +1 to hit more realistically. All right, chant. Well, that's Frontal Assault. I do want to talk momentarily about the Manchester Super Major, one of the biggest events that we saw this weekend, with 300 players. I'm interested here because, for whatever reason, BCP likes to hide the final brackets. And I don't really understand how that works. But there was a cut to top 8. If we look at the pairings in round 6, obviously this is it's like a whole extra day worth of playing. I think that they played through round 6 and 7, which means they played like 4 rounds on day 2. But the bracket initially had a cut to top 2, and I don't know if that ever happened between Innes Wilson and David Gaylord. I don't know if that was ever played. So to my knowledge, they just ended it with 2 undefeated, which is honestly fine for a 300-person super major. It did list 8 rounds being played, and then the other one didn't play. I don't know if that's going on, but in any case, we saw a couple of interesting armies in the top 8, and the one I want to talk about today is Scott Morris on Eldar, who played Guardian Battlehost, which is kind of out of nowhere. With Eldar right now, you got to swing for the fences and play some weird bullshit because the faction's in such a bizarre spot. But Guardian Battlehost, if you haven't seen it before, is actually kind of a sick detachment. It gives you +1 to hit, targeting enemies on objectives. Or excuse me, when you are on objectives. It doesn't require that you control the objectives, which is important. And because it plays a lot of like very large voluminous units, sometimes you can string things. But the real thing that we're doing here is we are utilizing cost of victory. So basically, we're stacking a bunch of really resilient Guardian units that are unexpectedly difficult to kill, and making it so that your opponent trades down into them, doesn't kill them, and then you reinforce the entire unit with all of its destroyed Guardian models returned. So that means that when we attach, for example, a Farseer plus a Warlock plus a Warlock Conclave. Yep, there they are. Look at those guys. We can add 6 models to a Guardian unit. All you need is 1 Guardian to survive in order to utilize this stratagem. Then you're going to be able to reinforce all those Guardians. So there's 11 models in a Guardian unit. It's 12 total wounds, I think, because the weapon platform, I believe, has... these are defenders. The weapon platform, I believe, has 2 wounds. It does. So it's 12 total wounds. You can stack together -1 to be wounded from the protect, plus shield nodes, which also gives you -1 to wound. Actually, I think the Warlock Conclave gives you -1 as long as there's a Farseer there, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so you have access to 2 instances of -1. I guess that lets you get around Oath of Moment, which is kind of big. So when your opponent oaths you, you can keep them at -1, so the chances that they one-shot you are much lower. Then you can eat damage on as many of the Guardians as you need to before you start taking Warlocks away. And then as long as 1 Guardian lives at the end of your opponent's fight phase, you just drop that unit back into reserve, you cross the victory, and you put 10 Guardians back on the table, and you put them somewhere else, and then you just start to do it again. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a sick effect. We can shoot with our Guardians while we're engaged with people. That's okay, I guess. You can auto 6 advance your Storm Guardians, so they're very good at taking objectives because they're very fast. In that case, we also get wound rerolls on Guardian units, and that is incredibly important because it doesn't affect just Guardian models, it affects Guardian units, which means it works on all the Warlocks. So the Warlocks each are firing their Destructor, which is D6 plus 2, I think. Yeah, so it starts at Strength 5, AP 1 damage, and then it stacks to +2 attacks and strength. So when you have 5 Warlocks in the unit, because of 4 model Warlock Conclave plus the character Warlock, you're firing 5d6 plus 10, Strength 7, AP 1, which then you can give wound rerolls to. So you're averaging 25 Strength 7, AP 1, rerolling wounds, which means you're handing your opponent somewhere around, even if they're T9 plus, you're handing them somewhere around 12 saves, in addition to any damage you're getting from the Guardians. So in this case, you're also firing Flamers from the Storm Guardians, you're firing Fusion Guns from the Storm Guardians. Those can be affected by the Farseer, for example, who also has his Auto 6. So if you get those Fusion Guns through, you can, with wound rerolls, which is pretty reasonable because they're high AP, you can auto flip the damage to a 6, or you can roll all your hits, then roll your damage for the Fusion Guns, then flip one of them to a 6 as well, which is pretty neat. Thank you for the membership, Sigma. Appreciate you, bud. So these units, I think I've seen so many people play against this army and go, yes, a Guardian unit. I will destroy them. I will destroy them utterly. And then they will be, I will sweep them before we and crush them and hear the lamentations of their women and all that stuff. And then they shoot them. And then suddenly they're -1 to be wounded. They're sometimes -2 to be wounded. They have a bunch of save manipulation stuff they can do because they have weapon platforms plus Guardians plus Conclave members. So they might just lose a couple Conclave members, then they come back and all the Guardians return back to the unit, and then they hit you super hard from an unexpected angle. It's kind of a sweet army. Plus, it's a lot of primary objective control stuff, because we are also playing just tons of cool things. Also, after you destroy a Guardian, I guess you can, or Warwalkers can shoot people. Are we playing Warwalkers? Oh, we are. Yeah, 2 individual Warwalkers. So we could react to fire with the Warwalkers, I guess. It's kind of neat. That's cool. Shroud Runners as well, who can strip cover from enemies. That's important because the combo there is that the Destructor is, if I remember correctly, AP1 torrent, but does not ignore cover. Yeah, it is just torrents. It's one of the few torrents in the game that doesn't ignore cover. So having access to ignore cover from Shroudrunners is huge, and you can pump their AP with Warwalkers as well. And you can give them +1 to wound because the army also has Eldrad. So all this damage can be stacked together to do some crazy stuff. You can get these guys to wounding basically anything in the game on 4s with full rerolls at AP2 ignore cover. And suddenly you start to consider, hey, we actually convert about 75% of our attacks into successful wounds. So we're handing our opponent closer to 18 or 19 saves on average at AP2 ignore cover, meaning that even into a knight, and not counting any of the Bright Lances we just shot or the other attacks that the unit has, we are half killing them. A knight defensive profile eats 12 damage from the warlocks in this unit alone, which is kind of nuts when you consider it. So on top of that, we're also bringing Guardian Defenders ×2, Storm Guardians ×4, Howling Banshees with Janezar, so we have a little bit of a fast melee counterpunch as well, double Shroudrunners, 2 individual Warwalkers, and then all the Warlock Conclaves. So we're going to be putting 3 big Warlock bricks together. I guess one of them doesn't have a... Oh, no, there's double Farseers here. Excuse me. So we have the full Farseer plus Warlocks plus Warlock Conclave on 3 separate units because Eldrad also counts as a Farseer. One of them has Ethereal Pathway, which gives you 2 units get Infiltrate, which means you can infiltrate up Storm Guardians in the middle of the table to obsec objectives, which is very cool. And then the other one is just Eldrad to generate command points to do all of these things that we're about to do. So if you don't have the correct offensive profile, which is high volume, kind of mid to low AP, probably like wound reroll, like wound rerolling attacks, then you probably don't kill these things. Even if you think you have good infantry sweeping, the defensive characteristics of the Guardians is like really weird. In that a lot of times they'll survive. Plus the Warlocks give you -2 to charge them, so they're difficult to engage with in melee too. It's just like this really annoying defensive profile where you look at like T3 4+ save and you're like, all right, I can kill that. It's a Kasrkin. No, once you stack 4 layers of defense on top of them, they're actually very tanky, and getting rid of them is super tough. So it's neat. It's neat. It's interesting. It's unique. I like it. Eldrad +5 Warlocks almost one-shot Bellicor in Overwatch. Okay, yeah. I mean, when you fire that many auto hits, like, the Overwatch is super scary, right? In a lot of cases, because you're like, I don't know. Here's fucking 20 strength 7. Do I get anything through? Anything smaller, like little utility units and stuff, even just like, you know, normal units you consider like, oh, Assault Intercessor Squad, probably just dies on the way in. If you let them Overwatch, you need to have anti-Overwatch effects or ways to get around it, which is definitely tough to do. And now Battlehost is going to get nerfed? I doubt it. Could you imagine one person X1s at a super major and they're like, unacceptable. They must be punished. They cannot be allowed to live. I do like that list. As I said, I was digging deep to find some interesting and unique builds. That was certainly one of them. And it's cool to see. You know, that and like Seer Council sees a lot of play, which is always, I don't know, it's fun to find those little things. All right, let's continue to move on. I have some notes on some other lists that we want to talk about here. Yes. So we have a smaller event that I didn't talk about in my normal video. The Grim Dice Weekend Tournament in the UK. Look at this guy. He's so grim. Those dice, those are some grim fucking dice right there. This was only 18 players. It was won by Adeptus Custodes, but not triple Land Raider Adeptus Custodes, which is basically everyone else is playing right now. I don't think I have ever seen, by the way, maybe Spectacle of Spite in Drukhari, which we'll talk about was playing Drukhari here. Maybe Spectacle of Spite, but I don't think I've ever seen an army percolate quite as quickly throughout a community. As soon as the triple Land Raider list did anything, every single Custodes player I ever saw immediately played it. I went to a tournament like a week later, and I saw no less than 3 triple Land Raider Custodians. I mean, it's a cool list. It's a bunch of like aggressive vehicles and stuff, and then also people just like fucking love Land Raiders, dude. So I understand it. I get it, right? It's a faction that was struggling. We found a way to make it good that involves Land Raiders. Everyone's in. But this was not a Land Raider list. This was Shield Host. Regular old Shield Host build. So this is the one where we get 5-up critical hits when we do a martial kata. Or we can get +1 AP. So we're just hit incredibly fucking hard in melee. We have a Panoptis Specs Blade Champion, so he ignores cover. With his unit, we have 2 more Blade Champions as well, so lots of advance and charge. Kind of classic Custodes fare. This feels very much like a 2024 kind of Custodes build, where it's just a bunch of Blade Champions and Wardens. Triple Custodian Wardens for the Blade Champions to hop into to get all the character buffs. 1 big Custodian Guard squad. I don't know if these have Kyria Draxus. They sure do. Classic. What a combo. Kyria Draxus plus the Custodian Guard for rerolls and the double shot. And then, look at that, double Venatari Custodians. A list after Folger Pile's own heart. Plus triple Witch Seeker for utility and a Calidus Assassin. It is notably not triple Land Raider, but it is kind of old school Custodes, where you just put a bunch of Wardens on the table and you just look at your opponent directly in the eye and you say, hey man, I'm going to make my 4-ups. And you're going to be dead afterwards because I'm going to hit you super hard. And we can use the benefits of the Shield Host ability to get extra sustained hits or extra AP to offset the fact that Wardens don't hit quite as hard as the regular Custodian Guard because they don't have access to those wound rerolls. On top of that, Venatari Custodians can rapid ingress for free and duplicate it, so they can hop in a bunch of different times to jump into your opponent's backline, threaten their backline. So you get sandwiched between the hammer of Custodian Wardens running at you and the anvil of Venatari Custodians coming in behind you to sandwich you. Pretty classic. Pretty classic list. We love to see it. Neat. Neato. Now the second place placer in this event was also kind of off meta here. It was playing Drukhari, but it wasn't any of the lists, any of the detachments we've talked about previously. It is, in fact, Skysplinter Assault. So this is Karen Shortland, which honestly, I'm gonna level with you. That's a Votann player right there, right? Is that not a Votann player? Is Karen Shortland not playing Votann? Come on, really? All right. Well, fair enough. We're gonna play Skysplinter Assault instead. So it's been a while since you've seen this one because it's the Transport Drukhari detachment. It's not Spectacle Spite or Reaper's Wager or Cowboy Cartel, which apparently won a GT. What the fuck? Kind of cool. That list seems interesting. But in this case, this one's a little bit older. This is the one where you get benefits when you disembark a transport. You get ignore cover and you get lance. And you have a bunch of benefits for your transports you can use, including things like night shields for 4+ invulnerable save to keep your vehicles alive. Wraith-like retreat, which lets you fall back at the end of the fight phase and then embark into a transport. I think that, yeah, you had to have fought this phase, so it requires fight eligibility. And then Swooping Mockery lets you reactive move your transports so you can keep them alive. In this case in particular, we're bringing an Archon with the Nightmare Shroud, so he can't be overwatched. Pretty helpful when you're fighting 100 million Warlock Flamers, maybe. We have Drazar, Lady Malice, Lilith, Hesperax as well. She super loves Lance. I guess she herself doesn't, but her unit gets helped quite a bit by it. We have a Cowboy Warrior Squad, double Rax, plus a Witch unit, 1 million Venoms, approximately 1 trillion Venoms, plus 1 Raider. We have Hellions ×2, just 5 model units to act as utility and spot removal. We have 3 units of Incubi, 1 Mandrake Squad, 2 units of Scourges with Dark Lances. So Incubi can all go into Venoms. And then we can combat squad in, or I guess we can. I imagine what we end up doing is, I Either the Archon can jump into the Cabalite Warriors. There is a strategy for Cabalite Warriors to give them sustained 2. If you are Cabalite Warriors, so you can amp them and then use the Archon's empowerment ability to pump them even farther. Or we can hop him into Incubi, and we just split the Cabalite Warriors and then use Lelith Hesperax as a bit of a hammer unit inside the Raider, I think is the other opportunity we have. But we get 3 Incubi units, 2 rank units, and a combat squatted unit into the 3rd Venom. So we just have 1 trillion little tiny utility units. All the Venoms can run around. They can react to move. They can stealth into a 4+ invuln save to try to keep themselves alive. And they can deliver the Incubi, who individually hit pretty hard, especially once you apply Lance on top of them, and you add benefits like Lady Malice's leadership ability too. So those little units are gonna do some pretty serious damage. Plus, you just have tons and tons of individual activations that can run around and score secondaries. So this list is incredibly, just like ludicrously capable of secondary play. It has a little bit of damage output from the Dark Lances and the Incubi units, but a lot of it's just going to be models just flitting around and scoring trillions and trillions and trillions of points. So cool to see. That was 2nd place at X and 1. And we have a couple other events to talk about. Let's grab those. All right. Let's talk about one of the weirder events of the weekend. I don't know what happened at this event. I think I talked about it in my video this morning. If I could go back to where I was. Oh, my co-commentator's here to talk about some lists. What's up, kitty cat? How you doing? That was a very graceful and perfectly executed jump that everyone saw and everyone clapped. Everyone clapped at how well you did that. That was really good. I'm proud of you. You didn't look ungainly or poorly coordinated at all. Please don't scratch my chair. My poor chair. What did it ever do to you? All right. So this event did really weird. Hi. Expecting a pat. We have to give concessions to our dark mistress. This is the Talvisota GT. It was held in Finland and was enormous. 129 players, ran only 5 rounds. Now, I read through the player pack, and I'm not sure what happened here. I talked about all of the lists that went 5-0, but they manually paired top 8, or they manually placed top 8, and I don't know why. And maybe it was bracketed. Maybe they used like a bracket system, and maybe I just missed it if I looked through the player packet. But I did read through it to try to figure out what was going on, and I couldn't figure it out. I don't know why. I don't know what was going on here. So anyway, either case, we talked about some orcs. It was an interesting orc build, a Warhorde orc build with Mega Knobs, which was cool. It was a bunch of Space Marines. These are all Ultramarines. Who cares? What we do care about is the other orc player who ended with this absolutely unhinged set of scores. 100, 180, 170. What? What happened here? I don't understand. All even numbers and 3 100s. The reason for that is that they were playing Cult of Speed, chat. We are going fast and scoring points, is what Uni Havisto said when he went to this event. He did end up dropping a game. I wonder what he dropped it to, actually. To George Yu in the finals on table 1, 70-79, 9-point differential. Close as fuck. Could you imagine if we had Cult of Speed winning, chat? Hot damn, dude. He left us a little message. Should we read it? Should we see what it is? Oh, amazing. It's a Fury Road music video. Perfect. That's perfect. All right. So, Uni Havisto running a mech, Warboss and Mega Armor ×2 plus Zodgrod Hortsnaga to buff some Gretchen. We've got double boys, 1 truck, 1 battle wagon, 18 Def Coptas, 20 Gretchen for the Zodgrod unit, 2 more units of 10 Gretchen to go run and grab objectives elsewhere, a bunch of Megatrack scrap jets. I know that there is interesting tech with the Snaz wagon in this detachment, but I don't know about the Megatrack scrap jets. I guess they just tank shock for mortals in the charge. They hit you for D3 mortals on a 2+, 3 flat on a 6, and they come in at only 75 points. So being able to pile mortals onto people is pretty cool. Plus they have just guns and they're fast. I don't know. I guess it makes sense. It's a fairly consistent mortal wound application, which is sort of nice. We've got double Mega Knobs, so that's where the Mega Armored War Bosses are going to go, plus double War Bikers as well for the backline. Oh, I'm not on my datasheet viewer here, Jim, so I apologize. So we have the Battle Wagon and the truck, which can deliver the Mega Armored boys, the Mega Armored knobs, into the fray. The Def Coptas themselves don't necessarily need WOG, so we can hold WOG until the Mega Knobs can get stuck in, and then also use that same turn to pin with the Gretchen. So you can basically like pin your opponent down, and then essentially keep them off the Def Coptas for another round, and just continuously shoot people with rocket launchers. And then, like, oh boy, is it a lot of rocket launchers. Plus, they get all these benefits from Cult of Speed. You get lethal hits, 5-up lethal hits if you're within 9, or sustained 2 within 9 on these units of Death Coptas that are firing like 12 to 18 rocket shots, depending on their blast profile. So you're potentially grabbing another, I don't know, 6 to I guess like 3 to 6 additional hits off of those at 3 damage apiece, which can be pretty spooky. Plus the Def Coptas, for not super expensive, are kind of individually hard to kill. They're 4 wounds at T6. They can get the invuln save from the WOG turn as well. So if you basically like commit the whole army, you can get units stuck in melee, and then the Def Coptas also can push in that turn. Then return fire shooting is going to be punching through 4 wounds with a 5+ invuln save, which is tough to do. It's interesting stuff. I imagine that there's like a lot of just like real estate blockage in this list, right? You have hugely fast units like the War Bikers who can run in. The Megatrack Scrapjacks could just sort of fill the table. Plus you have the huge Grot unit that can fill the table. In order to alleviate pressure from the actual punching units, which are the Def Coptas and the War Boss, or the Mega Knobs.
$6.99 through Super Chat. I am once again asking you to review my fists list when you have time.
Yeah, we can do that after this event. If we talk about this event, just send it over to me on the Discord, and I will take a peek. So interesting stuff. A little bit of Cult of Speed action going on, which is pretty cool. It would have been cool if it won, but obviously Ultramarines pretty good, turns out. Shocker, I know. Ultramarines do be good right now. Uh-oh, Discord. All right, there it is. All right, let's grab our Imperial Fist list real quick. Take a quick peek. Put on the thing. So it's Emperor's Shield. Love it. It's an Indomitable Champion Terminator Captain, so he respawns when he dies. And then a Malediction Standard Terminator Ancient. Combo up Lieutenant plus Lysander. Intercessor Squad for the backline. Ballistics ×2. Regular Dreadnoughts. You are a braver man than I. Oh, no. Ooh, boy. All right. Scout Squad, a Terminator Assault Squad, regular Terminator Squad. Fucking love them. So we have a Malediction Standard Squad. We're missing the champion of the feast guy, but I guess we don't like super need it, honestly. It just makes the Terminator squad, like the Assault Terminator squad, kill 2 things when it hits instead of 1, which is pretty cool. Plus double Vanguard Veteran squad. These are good because they have there's a lot of veteran payoffs in Emperor's Shield. I don't think I'm into the Dreadnoughts, man. I'm gonna level with you. I think the Dreadnought profile is really, really bad, and it sucks because I wish the box shreds were good. I just played through. I'm scripting a Tyrannosaurus video about OG Dawn of War, and I finished the whole campaign to begin with for the first time, and I did it off the back of the regular fucking Dreadnought. Those guys are so good in that game, and I have this great clip where I'm gonna put like Morgan Freeman's voiceover for March the Penguins over it, where it's just like 12 dreadnoughts just marching in a line all the way down the screen. It's so funny. Anyway, I wish they were good, but oh my god, is the dreadnought profile so bad. Movement 6, 8 wounds. And when you compare them to the Ballistic Dreadnought, it is a 15-point difference. It's only 15 points, and you get twice as many attacks. You get built-in rerolls. You get a million extra different things. Now, the nice thing that the Dreadnought does do is it gives you reroll 1s for the infantry units, so you don't necessarily need Oath of Moment everywhere, so you can get access to the second reroll hit thing. But I just don't think it's worth it for the profile. I think it's going to be tough for them to keep up with any of the Terminators, because ideally you want the Terminators to rapid ingress in towards the center of the battlefield, and then you want them to push. The Dreadnoughts are going to be running after them. They're going to be like advancing over and over. They're not going to get to melee. I don't think I believe in the Dreadnoughts, which sucks, because I know it's like cool and interesting, and that's like unique thing. But like, if they were like, I don't know. Like, what's the points value? Like 95? I'd probably be into it or something. But it's like, you compare them to like an invader, and it's the same wounds. Obviously, they're T92 plus save, but they have this and they have a melee weapon, but they have like the same ranged profile as an invader ATB that is literally less than half the cost. All they get is the extra survivability, but they cut their movement in half for it. That's insane. Like, they're actually a side grade from an invader ATV. Nuts. Like, so many of these numbers are the same, chat. It's too many. I just think the Dreadnought's a bit of a lost profile. I think that he's too expensive for what he does. You could, if you're looking for additional reliability on the infantry, you could give, because Lysander's gun unit basically wants to shoot the oath target every turn, you could give a champion of the feast captain to the second unit, and then you don't necessarily need the rerolls because you just have more attacks, right? It's like, it ends up being very similar in terms of profile. And then you could also get more utility out of it, or you could trade these guys for like more hefty gun units, which is always helpful. You do want something that can go sweep your opponent early. The Ballistic Dreadnought do that a little bit. But you could like trade them for Vindicators or something like that with extra points. I think that the Dreadnoughts are, I wish they were good, man. I'm so, I wish, but it's this thing, and it's this thing, and it's this number, all these numbers. Too high, too big or small in one case or another. Look at the current Karn effects. Yeah. I mean, in fairness, like, the Karn effects has like, yeah, I guess it is a similar profile, but it just has this fucking offensive profile designed by a baby. What is this 4+ weapon skill bullshit, bro? Come on, dude. I don't know. Also, like, Dreadnought CCWs coming in at AP2 will never cease to amaze me. When they come in and they punch like a Space Marine, and the Space Marine's like, I rolled a 5, get fucked. And then the Dreadnought's like, I didn't do anything this round. This is cool, man. You cost, 5 Intercessors does more damage than me. It costs like, literally 60% of my points value. Yeah, I don't know. It's sad. I wish these were back to, they used to be AP3 back in 9th edition. I think we should get back. We should go back to AP3. Dreadnoughts are so tough to get in melee. The stuff that's super difficult to get in melee, we should have good melee profiles on it. But it's just like it's a bit super mid melee profile on this thing that you're already kind of like having a tough time getting in there. Now we understand why the Death Shred is comically overpriced. It's because it's being compared to the regular Dreadnought. So true. There was, I think did it get nerfed when in like the Mordaka times too? Because there was a period where you took quad, KMB, Death Dreads, and you were just like gat people down with them. Boop, 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 boop. Which I thought was cool. I thought that was cool and neat, but I have a feeling that they got nerfed at that point too. Because they were actually good for a hot minute. Although it like fucking Mordaka made everything good. I don't know if that was that's just too much of a controversial statement. Oh, what? Something was good at Mordaka? Crazy. Did we see the Votann list that went 7-0? Watch my video from this morning, my guy. Watch my video. I did talk about it. That's Ronnie Kinney from the Discord, by the way. You've probably seen me play against him like 5 times on my Twitch channel because we always play all the time, like constantly. We seem to be LFG at the same time a lot, so I've played like random bullshit into him a lot of times. You could probably find a bunch of VODs with his Votann on Twitch. In fact, I think one just went up recently. Oh, it did. Actually, if you want to watch him play, let me grab my second channel here. I think that one went up last week, where he played against Ultramarines. It was this one. Yeah, a week and a half ago, I guess. Votann versus Ultramarines. That was Ronnie who was playing, who just 7-0'd at Cherokee. I'll put a link to this in the video description if you want to watch this game. This was a cool game. He played like a cool. It was against Ultramarines with like a mass plasma build. It was kind of sweet. It was, at least it was classy Ultramarines that didn't play like regular stuff. All right, let's move on, Chance. We have more events to discuss. Always more. Here we go. We can talk about, there were a couple X and ones I didn't discuss. This is not the only one. I believe there were a couple. Some of them were like Renegade Raiders, like normal bullshit though. Here we go. This event had some interesting finishes. This was the Springs Thundercluckers GT. I'm sure there's a story there, which I'm interested in. But we saw X1 Orcs, more Orcs talk. This one was Steve Pimprine, who I think is in the chat, who's playing Big Hunt. Hunt size, the biggest of the hunts. Now, we watched Steve play at Everwinter with Big Hunt. We almost had a Big Hunt mirror match on stream, but we said not to stream that one because it was going to be pretty weird. But there were more than one Big Hunt on stream. It was a weird Big Hunty weekend. But this is the Beast Snagas detachment, where you choose like essentially an oath target. Starting your command phase, use a monster vehicle or character. Your Beast Snagas get reroll charges and +1 AP. Now, importantly, that +1 AP affects all of your attacks. It is not only your melee attacks, which means if we are playing mass kill rigs, they actually just start to kill people. They just, as the name implies, you start to be killed by the mass kill rigs because their big laser cannon, the War Tower, goes to AP3, if I remember correctly. So you can source. Here we go. You can very easily source 3D3, excuse me, AP4. My bad. 3D3 AP4 D6 damage auto hits per turn onto whatever target that is. Plus, they can Overwatch well, so you can get another one if they trigger an Overwatch on top of that. AP 4 against your prey target. It starts to actually do some pretty serious damage. So in this case, we're running Boss Snickrot, a Beast Boss, plus a Shock Attack Gun Big Mech. We have an attachment for him. Tank Busters. So we have a little bit of a long range anti-tank option. Double regular mechs plus a Beast Naga Boys unit. 3 units of 5 flash kits for some utility. Gretchen Squad as well. Plus a Squig Hog Boy unit. No attachments for them. Nope. There is a big 20-man of Beast Naga Boys. These guys are going to come out of the Hunter rig. By the way, the Hunter rig is the big transport version of the kill rig. You get a 21 transport capacity. It also gets bonuses to its attacks if you have Beast Naga Boys in it. So it's +1 for each model it currently embarked. However, it only embarks Beast Nagas, so you have to have Beast Nagas on it. But it just gives you this big, relatively tanky, kind of annoying to kill, just giant brick that you can stand in the middle of the table. And then on your WOG turn, you can source a disembark with the 20-man plus an advance and charge into something important. Plus, you get reroll charges if they're your prey target, +1 AP and stuff as well. Killed a Castigator in Overwatch. Fuck yeah, let's go. That's sick. Kill rigs also pretty stabby. They are. Yeah. Kill rigs are just sort of like good all around. First of all, they have a +1 strength aura, or not an aura, but it's a targeted +1 strength start of the fight phase. And the interesting thing is, well, it only works on a 2+. There's a chance it fails. It can give you lethal hits, which is always good. But the other interesting thing is that it's not a named effect. It is a numerical modifier, which means it stacks with itself. So if you have 3 kill rigs, you can point all of them at a single unit. And you can stack that with, like, the WOG turn, for example, and you can get Beast Naga Boys to strength 9, which is pretty wild. But the kill rig itself swings all of these weapons. It has 4 Lance AP 1, 3 damage. It has 6 AP 2, 2 damage, and then 4 more anti-monster, anti-vehicle extra attacks, strength 5 AP 1, 1 damage. But you can imagine, if that is your prey target, you get +1 AP. So it's going to shoot you a D3 AP 4 auto hits, then charge you with 4 AP 2, 3 damage lance attacks, 6 AP 3, 2 damage saw blade attacks, plus the 4 more probably anti AP 2, 1 damage attacks. So they hit like a truck, and they can buff themselves with their own ability if they need to as well, because their ability just hits a friendly orc unit. For some reason, they can buff like a battle wagon with the Spirit of Gork. That battle wagon gets so amped. But they can also buff themselves. They can go to strength 9, strength 11, strength 6. So they do hit pretty hard, and they're only 155 points. This unit, by the way, chat, is 20 points more than a Dreadnought. Can we compare the Dreadnought to the kill rig? It is a 20-point difference. You get a move, what are they? Move 10? You get a move 10 T10 unit with 16 wounds and an auto-hitting ranged attack and, what is it? 12, 13, 14 melee attacks. That is a pretty good 20 points. They got the Hunter rig. The worst version is the same cost as the Dreadnought. Oh, poor Dreadnought. He's so bad. Makes me sad, chat. It makes me so sad. Yeah, also feel no pain, also 16 wounds, also OC5, so they're good at taking objectives away. Plus their delivery systems if you do have the smaller Beast Naga units, which we don't in this case, but that's okay. There's also 2 Def Copter units in here just for some additional Copter rocket sourcing. I don't believe that any of the Big Hunt stuff affects non-Beast Nagas, right? If I am not correct, I think literally all of it is Beast Naga keyworded. So there's no actual synergy, like explicit synergy, but it is just good to have more fast units that can blast at people. Oh yeah, you also get an up down for the kill rigs too. At the end of your opponent's fight phase, you can just drop them in a reserve and they come off a table edge somewhere. Whee! Because the rigs are Beast Naga keyworded on top of that. Pretty wild, chat. It is an interesting list. We have a movement phase. If your opponent falls back, you can make it a normal move up to 6 inches. You could re-embark the Hunter rig with your big unit after your opponent runs away from them. There's mortal wounds with your with your Squig Hug boys when they charge as well. You can also pay a CP for Beast Nagas to naturally advance and charge. Again, that works on any of the rigs on top of that. So it's in a big way, it's kind of the rig. It's a rigged game here. But we have this big, huge Beast Naga Boys unit that's going to hit like an absolute truck, especially when you commit it on the Wog turn, and then the kill rigs are just sort of like passively pretty good over the course. And then we could just back that up with some pretty solid Ork units, right? We have Flash Kits, which are good at clearing utility units and fighting with like infantry squads. We have the Tank Buses, which are good at shooting at tanks, surprisingly. I know, it's shocking. And then we have the Def Coptas, which are good sort of anti-heavy infantry blast profiles too. So it's a bunch of well-rounded units that's backed up by just like these 4 big rigs and this one big brick of models who are just sent through the absolute stratosphere with the stratagems that you get from the detachment. Always find that kill rigs are hard to move around WTC maps. Well, that's why you don't play WTC maps, chat. Then you can play interesting units in your army, and you're not restricted to only playing 5 model Space Marine squads. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty interesting universe over here in the not WTC map world. Yeah. Went 5-1 with Big Beef and Space Wolves with Grey Hunters and an Iron Priest. We can take a peek at that. That's cool. Do we have anything else to say about orcs here, chat? Steven, if you have any other pearls of wisdom that you want to drop onto the chat, because this would be the time. It can kill God. Indeed. We love to see that. Big Beef. Yeah, it's always fun to see non-Warhorde orcs. Orcs get so crazy when you don't play Warhorde. The downside is that orcs have a tough time getting to the 5-0, 6-0 spot with that Warhorde. But man, is it cool when they play other stuff. So Big Beef beat down. Also interesting, they had Warhorde orcs. This was a 71 player event, by the way. Take a peek at some of our Space Wolves. Oh yeah, here we go. Colby Long over here at 5-1 with Saga of the Great Wolf. We have Arjank Rockfist, Bjorn the Fell-Handed, an Iron Priest for more Daka Pew Pew Gun Shoot. Logan Grimnir plus Wolfguard Battle Leader with Skeleton's Foretelling for Lance. Do we have... Who are we attaching into over here? We got paired Mastercraft and Wolfguard Head Takers. That's it. An exciting spot for the Skeleton's Foretelling got to go into. Double Wolfguard Terminators for the Terminator characters. A bunch of normal pew pew gunshots units in the backline. But then we have this big Grey Hunter unit, which is kind of cool. So the Grey Hunters get rerolls when they target something within range of an objective marker. And it works on all of their attacks. And then interestingly, they do have rapid fire 1 bolt carbines. So when they run up to you to get within 12 inches, they shoot 3 times a piece. You have access to +1 to hit from the detachment ability, if that's the doctrine that you pick, the saga that you choose to tell. And then you can also pay a command point for +1 to wound on top of that. So they can be wounding a lot of things on 3s or 2s with wound rerolls as well. So the chances that you convert most of, if not all of your attacks is actually pretty high. 30 gunshots is pretty sweet. Plus, then they also get to charge you. They're not the fastest thing in the world. They only move 7. But they get to charge you, and they have Power Fist attacks at Strength 4 AP 1 with wound rerolls on top of that. So this unit actually hits like kind of a truck, especially against infantry squads. You want an infantry sweeping unit? This unit, I mean, it's just an entire brick of 10 Assault Intercessors that also have 3 gunshots, which is much better than Assault Intercessors for cost, I guess. The downside is that you can't attach too many different characters to them, but it is an interesting unit. Plus, they're a good disruption piece because they are baseline OC3 as well. We do have that Iron Priest. He can pump up I guess it's the Gladiator Lancer, right? He just vibes with the Lancer. because the Iron Priest gives him rapid fire one on his laser cannon, so that your Lancer shoots 3 shots instead of 2 shots, and then he gives you like this nice little wound rerolling character, like melee character in the late game. So he's like he almost gives you 2 Lancers for the cost of 1 or 1.5 Lancers, I guess. We have a Redemptor Dreadnought, which shoots 1,000,000 times, which is good with the +1 to wound strat as well, plus a Vindicator for some harder targets on top of that. And then just a bunch of Space Wolf good stuff. That's pretty cool. Nice to see Great Hunters on the table. Not a unit that we see too often.
Johnny 5477 donated $4.99 through Super Chat. I decided to give you $5 instead of spending any money to finish building my Black Templars. Need to see the data slate first.
Johnny 5477. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. I understand the sentiment. I think everyone's waiting with bated breath for the data slate. I hope it's a nuclear missile of a data slate. I mean, given the fact that we are probably just like holding our breath for like a new edition in whatever, 4 to 6 months. I hope that we get a data slate that just vaporizes the metagame. Build it up from the ground. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should do buffs instead of nerfs or whatever. Maybe we should do a light hand. Nah, just change everything. I want Genestealer cults to be the most broken faction in the game randomly, like out of nowhere. Just massive buffs for Imperial agents or something. When you play Imperial agents, Battle Sister squads are free. Just do something incredibly dumb and make the game interesting for like a month before no one cares anymore. If there was a time we're in like a lame duck or a second term of office here where it's the time to just do all the weird bizarre shit that we're hoping for. Yeah, I'm so ready. I'm so ready for an update. I'm so tired. I think other people are tired too. I mean, I'm seeing it everywhere. The general consensus is that the metagame is really, really borked right now, and competitive plays like not very interesting. I posted a screenshot on my Discord where I had one tournament where the final round, every game was a concession. No one played. I was like, fuck me, dude. That's insane. It was like 7 conceded games in a row. It's like, holy shit. No one cares right now. The metagame just sucks to play in, and that's awful. So hopefully it gets better. Yeah, I'm holding out hope. We'll see what we get. Hopefully custom characters sort of preview of 11th edition. I fucking hope so. I think that would be great. I think that we need more player expression in the game. And I've talked about it for the last 2 weeks, basically on live streams, where it's really, you just look through all these competitive stats and 85% of the lists are just the same as the next list. And it's like, oh my God, it's like pulling teeth to find these armies that aren't just the cutting edge of the meta. And I think it heralds the fact that we need more player expression inside these codexes. I mean, we had a long discussion on stream earlier this week. I think it was on Twitch, where we were talking about how interesting and diverse the sub-faction mechanics were for 10th edition. And to some extent, we need to go back to the design ethos that they had. I mean, for better or worse. And I'm sure that I'll still find something to complain about, if they do that. But the design ethos was very much in previous editions, 9th edition, was like, just throw the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. They basically wrote every rule down in an army book. And they didn't play test any of it. It was like, of course, there were broken combinations in there, which people figured out as soon as they got cropped up. But then it got nerfed, and it was fine. And especially if you're doing a faster development cycle, where you have these every couple of months, you have a nerf, you can play in the sprinkler with your design team a little bit more, and you can make like weird sub-faction abilities and weird character combinations, and you can let people play around with these huge breadths of options, so that we don't get to this point where every army is Blades of Ultramar with Marnius Calgar and Victrix Honorguard and the Wardens. Okay, calm down. We can do something different. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping. Oh boy, I'm hoping. Holy shit. Can I bring Joy Toy for your next one? Dude, those games that you play with like the Joy Toy games on YouTube are so cool. I think that Tabletop Titans did one. Where they played like Kill Team with Joy Toys models. Can I find one? Can I find a battle report? I'm gonna see if I can find it. If I can't, then I'll just be sad. I think I'm just gonna be sad. Oh, here it is. I found it. Chat. All right. Just show me the models. That's cool, right? He's just got a big fucking guy. That's kind of fun. I would never want to like bring that to a convention or whatever, but that's kind of fun, dude. You have the big guy there, and you build a big, huge terrain set for it. I like it. Somebody drank a bunch of Monster to make this board. We have huge measuring like sticks for them and stuff. That's cool, man. That's cool as fuck. That warms my heart every time I see that. It's just fun. The smoothest brain shit. Yeah. You're not wrong, chat. And they brought big dice for it too, dude. Like kids. I love it. It's so good. I'm in. I'm all in. This is the kind of stuff that makes you just really appreciate 40K in general. It's fun. It's fun stuff, dude. Anyway, chat, I think that's a pretty good place to end off on. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me and watching and putting up with my complaining about the metagame. Oh my gosh, the metagame's so broken. If only we had some sort of cycle that happened where we have an update coming up shortly where it's going to fix everything. That would be cool. But yeah, I think you've probably noticed I've slowed down a little bit on content. Part of the reason is there's just a bit of a downturn in interest, I think, in general for competitive 40K right now. It's also like it's winter time for YouTube, which is always kind of a downturn as well. So that certainly won't be permanent, but I am taking some time to focus on some longer form projects and some other projects that are sort of outside of the channel right now. But I'm not going anywhere. I might complain, but I'll always be here to complain. So you can stay tuned for some of that. I'm going to be having some retrospective content about past like metagames and interesting stuff like that, and we'll just see how that does. Obviously, my last one where I talked about the Tony Gruppando and Nick Nanavati situation is my biggest video ever. I think just about poised to crack 1 million views. And we'll probably do some other similar stuff, talking about some big moments in 40K, rather than talking about like sort of current metagame stuff, because I think it's pretty clear that people aren't that interested right now. Like we just dropped an hour-long video with some cool lists in it, and it's probably one of the lowest performing episodes of. I guess it didn't do that bad. We have had some low performing best servers of 40K in the last couple of weeks. So, I don't know. It is what it is. I'll see you all tomorrow for a Tactical Tuesday. I'm going to figure out what we're going to talk about because I'm not 100% sure yet. But other than that, that's going to be it for me today. So we will be over to our regularly scheduled broadcasting tomorrow. I'll see you then, 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming and all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.